You know that exact quiet. The one that settles over the couch after dinner. You're sitting right beside them. The TV plays low. You catch their profile. They look away. It's not angry. It's just distant. And suddenly, you feel completely alone in the same room. Your mind starts racing. Why does this keep happening? Am I asking for too much? Did I break it? Or am I just exhausting to love? You don't drift apart because your love faded. You drift apart because your pursuit accidentally felt like pressure. And that pressure triggers a survival response. Honestly, you're not failing at love. This isn't proof you chose the wrong person. Every couple navigating emotional distance has stood exactly where you are. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly why stepping back is the only way to actually draw them closer, and how to do it without losing yourself in the silence. Let's get into it. Most couples believe that when a partner starts pulling away, the only way to save the connection is to reach out harder, talk longer, and prove your devotion louder. But the real truth is that safety, not effort, dictates emotional availability. When your nervous system chases someone whose system is backing up, you accidentally confirm their deepest fear. Your partner's nervous system is reading you before their mind can catch up, and when the voltage gets too high, silence becomes their only shield. You cannot logic someone into feeling secure. You cannot debate your way into intimacy. You have to change the emotional weather in the room. Here's what changes everything. Walking away isn't abandonment. It's emotional regulation in action. Not louder conversations, not more compromising, not scheduling a weekly check-in, but two people who actually feel safe enough to lower their guard without fear of being trapped. When safety leaves the room, their instinct isn't to run because they don't care. It runs because they care so much that closeness feels like a countdown. And this is where it gets really interesting. Most couples fall into the pattern of treating emotional withdrawal like a problem to solve immediately. You send longer texts. You plan deeper talks. You wait up hoping for a breakthrough. But beneath the surface, an avoidant partner isn't tracking your words. They're tracking the emotional pressure in your tone. Every time you lean in with silent hope, their brain quietly logs another debt they cannot pay. What looks like coldness is usually just someone who has been emotionally flooded for so long that distance is their only breathing room. Instead of saying, "Why won't you talk to me anymore?" try offering, "Take all the space you need. I'm right here when you're ready." That's the shift that turns a relationship that feels like a negotiation into one that feels like a refuge. Here's the part no one talks about. Most people in relationships assume stepping back will make the distance permanent. You fear silence means the end. You panic when the texting slows down. But your nervous system is wired to fill empty spaces with stories. When you stop chasing, you actually create the vacuum where real longing can finally surface. Not louder demands, not anxious check-ins, not forced vulnerability sessions, but the quiet confidence of someone who trusts the bond enough to let it breathe. When you step away, something in him starts whispering, "Maybe she doesn't need to control me to stay." And here's what nobody explains. Absence only works when it's wrapped in security, not punishment. When you give space without withdrawing your love, the walls between you start to soften on their own. And here's what changes everything. Most couples try to fix attachment wounds by becoming perfectly independent. You bury your needs. You stop asking for comfort. You pretend you don't need them to feel whole. But independence without presence isn't healing. It's just isolation wearing a different name. When you suppress your longing, your body registers it as abandonment. They feel your tension even when you smile. Your partner reads the emotional disconnect long before the words catch up. Emotional distance in a relationship isn't like a wall. It's like scar tissue that forms slowly over 100 small moments that never got repaired. Instead of pretending you're fine, try saying, "I'm working on regulating myself, but I'd still love your company when you're up for it." That's the shift that stops you from acting like a roommate and starts making you feel like a sanctuary. Honestly, this is where most people get it wrong. Most couples fill every quiet moment with background noise or forced check-ins because the stillness feels terrifying. You turn on the TV, you scroll your phone, you over-explain just to avoid the heavy air. But unspoken tension can only dissolve when someone stops trying to fix it. When you sit comfortably with the quiet, you send a signal that safety doesn't require performance. Not constant reassurance, not curated dates, not perfectly timed apologies. Just the steady rhythm of two people existing without keeping score. When you stop filling the room, her nervous system finally gets to register, "He's not waiting for me to mess up anymore." And that quiet presence turns drifting into turning toward each other, without either of you having to force the motion. And this is the one most couples never figure out until it's almost too late. Most people in relationships confuse availability with accessibility. You stay physically present, you answer quickly, you say yes to everything. But accessibility without emotional grounding just breeds resentment. When your own center is shaky, your presence becomes a plea. Your partner feels the weight before they see the words. Real intimacy isn't built in the grand gestures. It's built in the 30-second moments when you choose to breathe before you react. Instead of rushing in to rescue the mood, try grounding your own feet first. Say less. Listen deeper. Let them feel the difference in your energy. This isn't a communication hack. This is what it looks like when someone has learned to love without losing themselves in the process. That's when your partner stops feeling like a project to manage and starts feeling like a person to come home to. This isn't a checklist you memorize and apply. It's an invitation to become the kind of person who doesn't panic when love requires patience. When you internalize this, you stop reacting and start responding, and your partner will feel the difference before you've even said a word. You stop chasing validation. You start offering stability. You become the anchor instead of the current. Real intimacy doesn't start when you find the right person. It starts when you decide to become one. If this shifted how you see your relationship, leave a single word below that describes what you're ready to let go of today. Subscribe for more honest conversations about love, attachment, and the quiet work that actually makes relationships last. I'll see you in the next one.